from the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Welcome to the primetime news here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, rail service in Accra disrupted for a few hours after a coach rammed into a track at a level crossing on the Graphic Road. Tamale court sentences 5 MPP supporters over murder of NDC activists in election-related violence in 2008. U.S. Embassy downplays reports and alerts circulated to its citizens in Ghana suggest it anticipates violence after the delivery of the Supreme Court ruling on the election petition later this month. Meanwhile, the Judicial Service staff have threatened a strike to coincide with the delivery of the verdict. And Trade Union Congress reiterates its objection to proposed electricity tariff increases by the PURC. We also have business, sports, showbiz, and international news all coming up.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
Now, very first story, the U.S. Embassy has downplayed suggestions that an email alert circulated to its citizens in Ghana about the impending Supreme Court ruling on the election petition is alarmist. The message advises Americans in Ghana to avoid, among others, political party offices, the Supreme Court and political rallies where there could be potential violence after the announcement of the verdict. Information officer at the embassy, Jean Clark, explains to Mayan Ture the alert is a routine advisory sent out to inform its citizens resident in Ghana.
This was a communication sent through our STEP program. STEP stands for Smart Travelers Enrollment Program, where we encourage Americans who are traveling overseas anywhere in the world to advise us what time period they'll be in the foreign country. Some people obviously are American citizens living here. We would like to know that too. This gives our citizens a chance to say we would like to be advised by the government when there are ongoing events. This is the best way that we have to stay in communication with them. We do this fairly regularly, purely so that they can make good decisions on their own and know what's going on in the political climate of the country. We issued a very similar statement back in December, as you noted, prior to the election petition. Now we want people to know, the court case is coming up. Ghana's political parties have decided to resolve their differences through the courts, which we commend very highly, and we want you to be advised that the court ruling is expected in a couple of weeks.
Now, the U.S. Ambassador Jean Kretz has also been clarifying the alert issued to American citizens in Ghana. He made the remarks after a courtesy call on the Asantehene at the Meisha Palace.
That the United States government, nor certainly the United States Embassy in Accra, either has predicted or has expected that there'll be any violence whatsoever following the Supreme Court decision next week. We, like the Ghanaian people, have the utmost faith in the Supreme Court as an entity and as due the respect of the Ghanaian people. We've seen that even from the leaders of the different political parties, they have given their word that they will respect the verdict, no matter what it is from the court, and that they have conveyed that message to their followers to act responsibly. At the same time, we do have thousands of Americans working in this country and living in this country, and we as the U.S. Embassy have a responsibility to them to keep them up to date with respect to current developments. So the intent of our message was basically just to make sure that those Americans who are living in the country are aware that there is a very important court case next week, that there is a certain amount of tension and emotion involved with it, obviously since the election, because it's about Ghana's future, and that, you know, when they should be aware of their environment when they're traveling anywhere in Ghana. So if they see any kind of demonstration or whatever, they should just be a little aware that given the importance of the verdict, that tensions and emotions in Ghana, as in anywhere else, if it was in the same position, they should be careful.
President John Mahama this morning received letters of credence from 5 new ambassadors posted to represent their various countries in Ghana. The president used the opportunity to trumpet the country's conducive business climate.
His Excellency Timothy Nwaba Walamba from Zambia was the first among the 5 to present his credentials to the president. He was accompanied by his family and other officials from the Zambian embassy in Ghana. The new ambassador recounted the history of bilateral relations between Zambia and Ghana, especially in the educational sector. Cooperation, he says, is evident in the number of Ghanaian educationists in Zambia.
And like you have correctly said, Ghana, Zambia, we relate a lot of things. I am one of the few surviving freedom fighters in my country, and I was honored by the President, my coach, His Excellency the President of my country, Zambia, now, in 2011. The history between my country and the history of this great country, Ghana, to some of us, although we were still young, but we witnessed on how the late His Excellency the President, Kwame Nkrumah, assisted our country.
On behalf of his president, Michael Chilufa Sata, the ambassador delivered an invitation to President Mahama to visit Zambia. His Excellency Jiva Saga from India was the next to present his credentials to President Mahama. The president was grateful to the Indian government for the support given over the years, highlighting the revival of the Commander Sugar Factory and the fertilizer plant being constructed in Shama in the western region.
There are several projects we have been working on, and I myself personally paid a visit to India about 3 years ago, and we held various discussions with the government of India and the Chamber of Commerce on several projects that we've been working on together under the Indian Exim facility. These are projects in quite critical areas, and I believe that it is helping to advance the GDP growth of Ghana.
Her Excellency Margaret Thompson from Denmark took her turn, followed by the first ambassador from Colombia to Ghana, Claudia Tebe Quintero. She expressed her willingness to use her position to facilitate more investment into Ghana. President Mahama expressed hope she could use her influence to help Ghana grow coffee brand comparable to Colombia's.
To Ghana is going to open a whole new channel of cooperation between Ghana and Colombia. And I believe that that is going to bridge the gap that exists between Africa and South America. We have received notification of many more South American countries desiring to open embassies here in Ghana. Peru, Ecuador, Colombia has opened an embassy, and we're sure that many more will follow suit. Ghana would also see how we can reciprocate as our economy expands.
The last of the 5 envoys was Dilip Nair from Singapore, who says he also hopes his country can support Ghana's infrastructure drive.
President, yes.
An Accra Fast-Track High Court has dismissed an application seeking to stop the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission from announcing newly approved tariffs for the utility companies. The Truth and Accountability Forum, a pressure group, prayed the court, among other things, restrain the PURC from coming out with the new tariffs because it says it has not followed its own guidelines for approving the rates.
According to the Truth and Accountability Forum, consumers have for too long been taken for granted, and that it is time they demanded their due from the utility providers. The High Court, however, struck out the case because it says the group failed to do proper checks before dragging the commission to court. Lawyer for the PURC, David Ametepe, said the ruling is a vindication of their stance that the forum had no case in the first place.
Normally this case would have gone on for trial and it could have taken years. But the rules of court permit any of the parties to come for a summary determination of the matter when there is no need to put a witness in the box. You understand? Now, where the claims are, for instance, very frivolous, as the court has determined. For instance, all that they are complaining of are not true. You understand? Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has conducted its affairs according to its law, the mandate, all this while since 1997 when it was established.
Unhappy about the ruling, the Truth and Accountability Forum dropped hints it will appeal.
The case has been dismissed, no doubt about that. But we respect the decision of the court. That is the reason why we brought the case here. But we disagree vehemently with the decision of the court. We know that this is a travesty of justice. Justice has not been done in the sense that not only are we saying that, but the fact of the matter is that if you look at the points that the judge, actually brought, and then the points that we adduce in court to substantiate our points, it shows that our motion was very competent. The reason being that PURC over the year has been performing badly, poorly.
Utility service providers have for some time now been making their case to the PURC about the need for an upward review in their tariffs. Though consumers say the tariff increase is undeserved because of the poor nature of their service, the producers insist service delivery can only improve if consumers pay realistic tariffs. Eric Curtis Howard reports.
The National Health Insurance Authority has admitted overpayments on claims of up to 22 million Ghana cedis between 2008 and 2010. The NHI's Deputy Chief Executive made the admission when he appeared before Parliament's Public Accounts Committee today. The overpayments were found to be far in excess of the 6.4 million Ghana cedis contained in the Auditor General's report, which was being scrutinized by the committee. Officials of the National AIDS Control Program were also at the hearing to answer misappropriation of state funds over the same period.
The Deputy CEO of the NHIA, Nathaniel Otu, explained how they discovered the rather high overpayments.
We have even better updated information, but what is here is 6.4 million, and I'll speak to the issue. What we do is a very laborious process of putting together these figures and assuring ourselves that the figures are legitimate. And in doing so, just as the auditors do, we require that the health providers provide responses, and also we require that petitions that they have are looked at. Sometimes they even come with their legal counsel, and there are situations where we have had to answer to summons in courts. So having said that, it is not a process which just ends in the determination of the amounts, but it goes further to actually ensure that the amounts are legitimate and that they are payable under the circumstances. The NHIA has put together the entire findings of our clinical audits to date. And what the audits are finding is that there has been about 22 million, which is overpayments.
The programs of the National AIDS Control Program was also quizzed by the committee's members over irregularities in AIDS operations and how suppliers failed to deliver some 323,000 Ghana cedis worth of antiretrovirals because due procedure was not followed in the procurement process in 2008 and 2009. Dr. Ni Akweyado was also asked to explain how funds accrued from beneficiaries of the antiretrovirals ended up in a private account.
The audit team visited 24 locations. Out of the 24, 4 had challenges. And the 4 institutions are here. My response and our verification has shown that the funds have been paid into the facility accounts, and they've been transferred per instructions from national into the dedicated account at national level.
Medical officer at the facility.
You have, sir.
Who was the big boss in the hospital?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you discuss this with him for advice?
what they told us is that we should keep the money until they give directive on what to do with the money before we pay the money out.
That is what he told you. What does the financial regulations tell you?
I don't know.
You are a nurse.
Yes, sir.
You are not an accountant.
No, sir.
But wasn't an accountant in the facility?
No.
So, Mr. Ado, Dr. Ado, I'm not sure. Which is Dr. Ado.
Yes, sir.
Your instructions to them was said that the nurses should keep the monies they collect from the patients.
No, sir.
So how come that the nurse collected and kept the money instead of an accountant collecting? And who was issuing receipts?
It also baffles me. The general instruction is that we must issue GCR receipts and the monies must be with the finance people. So it was after the audit that I also got to know, and they are called the Northern Regional Health Directorate to take necessary action, because we also work through the Ghana Health Service system.
The committee chairman then concluded appropriate sanctions will be taken against those found culpable.
Don't go away. The Tamale High Court, presided over by Justice Lawrence Mensah, sentenced the youth activist of the MPP Yakubu Yahuza to death by hanging, having been found guilty of murder and conspiracy to murder. 4 other activists of the party, Bibu Dagbana, Majid Al-Hassan, Alassane Saibu and Imoro Gundana, were also convicted for conspiracy to murder and will serve 36 years in prison each. The decision was taken by a 7-member jury. The 5 were arrested somewhere in February 2009 following a political clash between NPP and NDC youth in Tamale, resulting in the death of Rashid Al-Hassan, a youth activist of the NDC. Several houses, vehicles and motorbikes and properties in Gumbihini, Chogu and other surrounding communities in the Tamale metropolis were also set ablaze. Our correspondent in Tamale, Hashmin Mohammed, was at the court and joins us on the line. Good evening to you, Hashmin. Good evening to you, Hashmin. Now,
good evening, Israel.
What has been the reaction of the 5 to their conviction? I'm afraid we have lost Hashmin Mohammed there on the line, but hopefully we're going to get him back onto the line and speak to him about the High Court, the Tamale High Court sentencing some 5 persons in the town for election-related violence and the death of one NDC youth activist back in 2008. In other news, a Tama-bound train on Tuesday afternoon ran into a track at the Graphic Road level crossing here in Accra. Though there were no casualties, the train has suffered some damage in the accident, whilst the truck, which was transporting scrap metal, was badly shredded.
The accident, according to eyewitnesses, occurred at about 3:30 p.m. when the driver of the truck tried negotiating a curve on the rail track and got stuck in the process.
We were na can free has of recycle Asare or Basia or Obedan no where cause until Okona now want to me ordinary confess or horse and so for this or Banachi. Until Banachi and so Okona type Akunaka Trinu Quanamo. Until Forces or Banachi Biomana and son or Oko. Until Forsu na be a TJT, no, did be as a baby abu or canamo, until Canon Timinko. Until driver see a friend on conference say, or Mumbe Buano. Na intimate and intimate pushikan until before mobile nothing in swapie. In the secret in Johnny Quire and Nimho, see Oko Freno, Oko Stopino, until Oko Gina Hona, and that's baby Opieno, and to me, on to me, Gina, Ohana, or Dibebono.
The truck with its cargo was scattered all over the rail track after the accident, which drew lots of curious onlookers who helped clear the debris from the tracks. The police eventually called in a tow vehicle to remove the frame of the damaged truck. The train driver blamed indiscipline on the path of the truck driver for the accident.
I departed from Accra heading towards Tamale. So this place is a curve. So
on reaching a place where I can view the crossing, I saw the car, whether passing or stopping, I don't know, because the head have passed, the head have passed, and the truck is within the track. So I started braking. So I tried my possible best to just keep the situation. So because this place is a descending area, that's we call it sloping. So the train was moving slowly, so it just collided with the cargo truck.
The police later had to convince scrap dealers in the area to assist with the rescue efforts and took more than an hour for the trucks to be cleared of all the debris. Area manager of the railway service, Sam Jonathan, said the accident is likely to affect the operations.
The extent of the train is extent of damage on the train is quite extensive, but we'll have to send it to the workshop and do thorough examination on the coach and the train to maybe determine the extent at which it has affected the train. But on the face of it, it shows clearly that the damage is quite extensive. But we'll have to do in-depth examination to ascertain whether it has affected some of the components inside, especially in the event that it affects major components on the train. That means we have to ensure that we replace and repair all those components before we put the train back in service. So for the period that we are not able to get the train on the track, definitely it means we are not going to run, and that means loss of revenue.
During the clearing process, an Accra-bound train from Tamale had to return to its station to enable rescue efforts to continue. Accra Central MTTU Commander Felix Afedo said an investigation into the accident will begin immediately.
The information we received was that a train was coming from Accra direction towards Tamale. On reaching this spot, there was an Appion car also coming from this direction using the side route, not even the route closer to where the train line is. But on realizing that it got stuck in the rail and it could not move, meanwhile the train was also coming. So the driver jumped out of, it is alleged that the driver jumped out of the track and then the train ran into it. As of now, you can see that we are trying to clear the place. That is what we are going to do, and later on we'll go after the driver and see what we can do. Pick it from there.
2 trains, including the one involved in the accident, have since rolled through the level crossing.
We're returning to our earlier story on the conviction of some 5 persons in Tamale over some election-related violence back in 2008. We have Hashmin Mohammed back on the line there. Good evening to you once again, Hashmin. Now, I was asking the reaction of the 5 to their conviction.
Well, good evening, Israel. If I heard your question right, well, right now I am at the family of the person who lost his life during the clash involving the NDC youth and the NPC in the Tamale metropolis. And what family members are telling me is that, yes, they are happy with the verdict of the court this afternoon, and they believe that justice has finally been handed over to the family.
Okay, and I was asking earlier, the proceedings in court, was a reaction of the 5 who were convicted?
Hello?
The reaction of the 5 who were convicted in court today, what's their reaction?
Well, the reaction of the 5 convicted persons, I went to the family house of Yakubu Yahuza. There was only one person who the court decided that he will be hung for murder and conspiracy to murder. And I spoke to one Rashid Yakubu, a junior brother to Yakubu Yahuza, and for them, they are saying that they have spoken to the counsel of the 5 suspects, the 5 convicted persons, and he's telling them that they will be appealing against the decision, and not until that is done, they don't have anything much to say.
All right, now, I want to know, how is the town taking this ruling, knowing that this happening to be election-related, the fact that there may be MPP supporters and NDC supporters on one hand. How's the town taking it all?
Well, Israel, I hardly hear you, but if you can repeat the question.
Okay, what has been the reaction of the townsfolk to this particular ruling?
Well, the counsel for the 5 convicted persons, Nana Obi Boahin, he says he believes that it was a political trial and they will be appealing, and he said they will be filing their appeal latest by tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much. That was Hashmin Mohammed, is our correspondent in Tamale, obviously, over a very patchy line that we do apologize for the poor quality. Apparently, he couldn't quite hear us too well. In other news, the Ghana Trade Union Congress has reiterated its objection to the proposal by the Electricity Company of Ghana to increase its tariffs across board by 166%. Describing the anticipated review as high and unacceptable, the TUC says the ECG would have to work hard to remove the operational inefficiencies and reduce the losses to justify its demands.
The utility companies to support their argument for higher tariffs say what they earn now is barely enough to sustain current generation costs, while the Volta River Authority is asking for a 137.5% increase. Gridco wants 39.36%. The Ghana Water Company is also asking consumers to pay 99.39% more for the water supply to their homes. But the TUC disagrees, especially with the ECG.
Yes, there might be the need for some increase, but not to that level. The 166%, particularly from ECG, was unacceptable, too high and unacceptable. And it's simply we can't pay. Our concern has been the fact that over the years, that is the demand. They always ask for more in order to improve the efficiency, but the efficiency has never been. We ask them to go back and then do their homework well, and as much as possible, remove the inefficiencies in their operations in order to, in future, justify the kind of demands that they will be making on the public. The public were not, Ghanaians were not happy with their performance at all.
According to them, the ECG made a marginal profit of about $4 million in 2010, partly as a result of upward tariff adjustments that year, but made losses of $16 million in 2011 and $26 million in 2012. The TUC is also unhappy that the ECG continues to report system losses in excess of 20%, which they pass on to consumers. For them, a gradual tariff adjustment is the way to go.
Earlier on, we had even agreed, as far back as last year, with government and also the AGI, that instead of waiting a long while and coming up with a huge increase, there could be this automatic adjustment thing, the gradual adjustment thing, so that we are not committed to paying that chunk at a go. So we still recommend that we cannot afford that waiting for about 1 year or 2 before you increase. And that currently there is untold hardships on Ghanaians on so many things. So we caution that we don't expect any huge increases.
The TUC is meanwhile asking utility service providers to distinguish operational costs from all others, so investments are not passed on to consumers as costs. Abigail Admakwenchi for Joy News.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Report with me, Asare. In our first story, the Bank of Ghana says its proposed increase in minimum capital is solely for new banks and financial institutions. The central bank last week announced that new commercial banks need 120 million cedis as minimum capital, 300,000 for rural banks and 15 million for non-bank financial institutions. The managing director of First Atlantic Bank, Gabriel Egal, told Joy Business the moves to let existing banks capitalize based on their risk is in the right direction. To other news, the International Finance Corporation has secured approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Ghana Stock Exchange to issue its 2 billion cedi bond. Now, proceeds from the 10-year bond will be used to support small businesses in the country. Manager of the corporation in Ghana, Mary Jean Moyo, tells Joy Business this would help reduce Ghana's dependency on foreign debt and also develop the local capital market. The International Finance Corporation is also hoping to list a bond on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Analysts say if the corporation is able to issue the bond, it would prove that government can also look internally to raise such funds for developmental projects. The limited number of Agric Extension officers has made it impossible to have one-on-one interaction with all farmers in the country. The Agricultural Extension Services Directorate, however, says it is employing new and innovative ways to reach farmers and provide them with necessary farming advice. The director, Dr. Kwame Ameza, has been speaking to Joy News' Adelaide Arthur.
An Agric Extension officer's duty is to visit farmers and advise them on best farming practices and planting materials that will help improve yields. They are to engage and teach farmers how to prevent pests and diseases from ravaging their farms and how to deal with such situations. According to the Directorate, individual interactions and demonstrations are the ideal ways to get the farmers to adopt these practices. The very low number of extension officers, however, remains a challenge.
Now we have introduced the using of the FM stations, and also we are also introducing ICT into extension, where you can send message to farmers on their mobile phones. Every farmer must be visited. That is the ideal thing to do. That will happen if you have one extension staff to about 500 farmers. Right now you have one extension staff to about 2,000 or 2,500 farmers. So it's making it very impossible for every farmer to be visited. The original extension activities in this country goes with giving of input to farmers.
He says building farmers' capacity does not end with acquisition of knowledge, especially when farmers find the adoption of best farm practices expensive.
We can tell farmers that if you apply about 5 bags of fertilizer to some of these hybrid seeds, you might be able to get over 20, 30 or 40 or 50 bags. But who pays for the cost of adoption? The farmer is unable to pay. The price at which the fertilizer is also being sold now, most smallholder farmers cannot even buy. So government actually have another program which they call the block farm, where we give the fertilizer to farmers and they pay after they have harvested their crops. Even that one, we have some problems for farmers' inability to pay.
Dr. Ameza indicates the country's total agricultural production is improving and chided politicians for politicizing food.
Total agricultural production in this country is going up. And we agree that the agricultural GDP is going down because of the oil find. Because of the value of the oil, the contribution of other sectors like service, agriculture are going down. And it's going down because of the value of the oil. As we are still sitting here now, we have a lot of food stock we cannot sell. So how can you say that you have food stock you cannot sell and you say that agriculture is going down? It's about politicization of food in my context.
Productivity is the key measure of extension service delivery, and according to Dr. Ameza, the most efficient way to ensure enhanced food production is to empower farmers through knowledge.
Before we go, Ghanaian businesses and manufacturing firms appear to be moving fast to capture the Nigerian market. To this end, the Association of Ghana Industries is partnering with some private firms to organize the first solely made Ghanaian goods fair in Nigeria. And that's all for the Business Report at 8. My name is Asare.
Right, we're returning to one of our top stories for this evening. It's the Judicial Service, and they have been warning, or they're threatening to embark on a strike 2 days before the ruling or the delivery of the Supreme Court ruling on the election petition. Right now we have on the telephone lines the interim management committee member of the Judicial Service Staff Association. He's Francis Brakwa. Good evening to you, Mr. Brakwa.
Good evening.
All right, we're told about this strike. Your group is threatening 2 days to the delivery of the Supreme Court verdict.
Hello?
Yes, I'm saying we're told about this strike that your team is embarking on 2 days before the delivery of the Supreme Court verdict. Can you confirm that for us and the reasons why?
That is true. That is true. The reasons I think you are unaware of. If you recall, somewhere in April this year, came out intending to go on a strike as a result of non-payment of some allowances which were due us from the government. And you know what? There was an intervention from the Judicial Council, as a result of which we had to suspend the intended action. Now, we've waited for a while. We have waited since April. Nothing is coming. It seems the government is not ready to pay us. So I think the executive had to take a decision on it. And the decision is to embark on a that resume the desperate action.
Okay, but why do you want to do this 2 days to the delivery of the Supreme Court verdict? The timing
we care less about the Supreme Court matter. What we are focusing on is our what do you call it, our allowance.
Mr. Brakwa, can you repeat that again? You're saying you care less?
What I'm saying is that we are not targeting the Supreme Court matter. What we are saying is that we just want the payment of our allowance. That's all.
So what would it take? Would it be okay if they promised or government promised to settle you?
Here we don't want any promises. Right? We don't want any promises because that has gone on for a while. We are not seeing anything positive. So we are not expecting any promise. What we are expecting is the payment, right?
Do you have any value on these allowances that you're supposed to be paid?
Offhand, I cannot mention, but we are talking of the fuel allowance. We are talking of maintenance allowance. We are talking of overtime allowance. We are talking of arrears of the clothing allowance from last year.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Francis Brakwa. He is the president of the Judicial Service Staff Association, as you just heard, threatening a strike on the 27th of August. That's like 2 days to the delivery of the Supreme Court ruling on the election petition. We'll be following on the story to bring you details as to what government may be doing or may want to do to stave off that particular industrial action. We're bringing you international news.
Sports is brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got Higo.
In sports, George Addo Jr. is not here, so I'm doing the sports, presenting the sports tonight. In sports, the former League Clubs Association boss, J.Y. Appiah, has called on current executives of the association to devise strategies that would enhance the values of the competition. He expressed his disappointment at the body's failure to organize the event in the last 2 years and challenged them to put in place mechanisms to attract the necessary corporate support to augment their efforts.
The first top four, we didn't have we didn't get sponsors. Ngaka sponsored it, and then after that we employed competent people to sort for funds for us, and I think they help us, and then we're able to satisfy the demands of our sponsors. After every match that we played, we sat down with our sponsors, and then we analyzed our performance. So they were also satisfied with our performance. They had what they wanted. They had the merit that they wanted, so everybody was prepared to do business with us. There's vast deterioration in the legacy that we left. Here we could see the top four. When the credit management, when they came into office, they introduced the top 8, and it was a total failure. As I speak to you now, I don't know whether they've been able to pay the team that participated in the tournament and the officials, the referees, and all those who helped. And then this year too, they were unable to organize the top 4. So you could see that there's a decline.
Now this This year's GACO Top 4 event was cancelled after challenges arose with the professional league board's scheduling of the Globe Premier League. The FIFA 11 for Health has been launched in Accra with organizers determined to use football as a means to project health values. The concept was developed by football's world governing body FIFA after the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. It is a football-based health education program to get children to imbibe the values of living healthy lives. Dr. Prince Pambo is the medical officer of the National Sports Authority and has been speaking to Joy Sports about the essence of this program.
The FIFA 11 for Health worldwide originated after the South Africa World Cup 2010, where FIFA noticed that Africa was very interested in football. Driving on the streets of South Africa, they realized kids were playing football at even unapproved places. So after the World Cup, which was of course the most successful World Cup ever organized by FIFA, they realized that they needed to leave a legacy with Africa. So Dr. Colin Fuller, who I believe you interviewed, who happened to be my course director when I was specializing in sports medicine in Nottingham, developed the program where they call it 11 for Health because it's a football-based health education program. They realize that when somebody is interested in something and then you attach learning to it, the person understands it better. So they realize that since the kids are interested in football, anything you teach them through football, they are more likely to keep it. So they developed 11 key health messages, and then they used professional footballers to represent each message. And then they also developed 11 key football skills like heading, dribbling, trapping, goalkeeping and all that. Currently we have 26 PE teachers and coaches who are going to be trained. So these 26 PE teachers and coaches will then be sent to the other regions where they will train 240 PE teachers and coaches who will then go back to their schools all over the country and then teach the children.
All right, and then before we go bring you some results of the UEFA Champions League games that were played today, and Shakhtar Karagandhi, they won 2 against Celtic, and then Lyon, they lost 0-2 to Real Sociedad. Marcos Ferreira, they lost 1-4 to Zenit St. Petersburg, and then PSV Eindhoven, they drew with AC Milan 1-0, and Victoria Pleasant 3, Maribor 1. That'll be all for sports.
Sports.
Renowned Ghanaian fashion designer Joyce Abebu has upgraded her fashion school, the Vogue Style School, to a fully fledged college offering additional courses in fashion and graphic design. This forms part of moves to rebrand the institution. The school is now known as the Joyce Abebu College of Creative Design.
The former Vogue Style School did not only see a change in name, but a relocation as well. The Vogue Style School started operations in March 1995 with just 5 students, but the number has since increased. In the year 2000, for instance, the total student population was 200. The school has over the years become the most preferred training center for badon fashion designers. The new look Joyce Abebu College of Creative Design, however, affords students the opportunity to take certificate, diploma or degree courses in fashion or graphic design and other related courses. The college, located on the Switchback Road in Cantonment, has a computer lab, lecture halls and a fashion hall. The grand opening of the college was attended by the Educational Minister, Professor Nana Opokwajaman, and the Gender, Children and Social Protection Minister, Nana Oyeletha. The students put up a fashion show to showcase their designs.
Entertainers often go great lengths to promote their new works, and the publicity that precedes the outing of the works takes various forms. But will negative press in any way help them achieve this feat? For the girlfriend of Prior Tietia Seli, that could be possible. According to her, recent reports that the hip life group Prior is on the verge of breaking up might just be a PR gimmick built around the release of the group's new single. So who is fronting the campaign and why?
time talking about this because they obviously heard it. People were calling them to tell them there's actually no split. For me, I don't know where it's coming from. This rumor mongers and stuff, people want to make news and be listened to. So their relationship is very, very good. We are one family, and like absolutely, there's nothing like that. For me, they are promoting. They've started promoting their new singles. They have a new video out there that they are coming to start shooting. So I don't know if this is some sort of hype or whatever. You know, they do this. Some people even claim they are dead, only for you to see them on air the next day granting interviews. So
about her alleged conduct in the house.
I wasn't even aware of all this thing. Obviously, you know the scandal that is out there. I was not aware when I was in the house, so there was no way I could defend myself or, you know, let Africa also hear my part. I had no idea all that was going on behind me. So I come out and I was briefed by the producers, and also my sister calls me to tell me what it was crazy. You should see me when I got back home. I was so lean, depression.
You suffered depression.
It was crazy because I was like, everybody had judged me too quickly.
Is that Prioritatia appears to be falling madly in love with Sally by the day, and a split of the group will most likely end the musical careers of the two remaining.
That's it for the bulletin. Before we go, the quick run through our top stories. Rail service in Accra disrupted for a few hours after a coach rammed into a truck at a level crossing on the Graphic Road. Tamale court sentences 5 NPP supporters of the murder of NDC activists in election-related violence in 2008. U.S. Embassy downplays reports and alerts circulated to its citizens in Ghana suggest it anticipates violence